Okay, today's discussion here revolves around unemployment. Hopefully by now you've discussed a little bit your price findings from the last time, your homework, and made your blog comment for the week. But today, unemployment. You've all probably heard of the unemployment rate. Okay, it's 6.7% or whatever it is. Now, the fact is, though, that it doesn't include everybody who doesn't have a job, nor does it include all the people who are what we call underemployed. So here I have 5 situations for you. Just take a guess, if you would, as to if these people would be included in the unemployment rate or not. First one, Ellie has been laid off because of a recession. Is Ellie, quote unquote, unemployed? Yes, she is. She would be counted in the unemployment rate. Number 2, Holly has stayed home with her children and recently entered the labor force to look for her first job. Is she unemployed? Yes, she is. She is also unemployed. Number 3, Jordan accepted a part-time job because she couldn't find a full-time job, but she continues to search for a full-time job. Is Jordan unemployed? The answer is no, she's not unemployed. The government would count her as employed. She has a part-time job, therefore she has a job, therefore she's not unemployed. 4, Abby has been unemployed for so long she has stopped looking for work, but she would accept a job if one were available. Is Abby part of the unemployment rate? No, she's not. And the key is this right here, okay? For so long. You only get a period of 4 weeks to be looking for a job where you're still counted as being unemployed by the U.S. government. So Abby would not be included in the calculation for the unemployment rate. Last, Taya is a skilled specialist who was recently replaced by a machine. She has been looking for a job, but there is no longer demand for her skill. Taya is, yes, unemployed, according to the actual unemployment definition. All right, and we'll talk more about that right now. But first, one of my favorites, Harry Truman, whose middle name was S, the letter S, and that was it. It's a recession when your neighbor loses his job. It's a depression when you lose your own. And the costs of losing a job are huge. You know, there's a paycheck issue, it's obvious, but some of these more mental issues too are a big deal. It does lead to crime, stress, in some cases suicide, mental illness. You know, it's embarrassing. You're out at social functions and people say, well, what do you do? And you got to say, well, I'm kind of in between jobs. I'm looking for work right now. And too often we take a very disparaging and somewhat judgmental look at folks who are unemployed, but it's not always through a fault of their own. And we shouldn't just say, well, you got to, pick yourself up by your bootstraps and do something. It's hard sometimes to move your family in different places to find a job. So let's be a little bit charitable today as we encounter this. All right. Here's a graph showing U.S. unemployment over time since 1940. As you may know, in the Depression in the 30s, things were actually much worse, much higher. You were looking at unemployment rates rather in the teens the entire time. But as you can see here, we kind of peak in the late or early 80s at about 10%. Trending currently going down. All right, our current unemployment rate in the U.S. is about 6.7%. All right. Moving on, things could be worse. This blue line here is France. France is at about 12%, as you can see. This green thing, that's Greece, at about 21%. Here's Spain at about 23% unemployment. If you look at young single male unemployment in Spain, about 60%. So serious issues there. The best thing that young Spanish men can do to get a job is to leave Spain, actually, which they have been doing quite a bit. Now, how do we actually figure out what the unemployment rate is? And how do we count people who are employed or not employed? All right, here's a little walkthrough for you. Now, question 1. Employed people are people with jobs. What do you think? It is true. Quiet, Brady. All right. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, the BLS, conducts a monthly survey of 60,000 random people. Not random. It's supposed to be a good sampling of the U.S. population. Okay, they're asked, do you have a job? All right, yes, and they hang up. If it's no, well, then they ask you more questions. You are considered employed if you did any work for pay, part-time or full-time. You are, quote, employed then. Number 2, unemployed people are people without jobs. What do you think? Whoops. It is false. Just to reiterate. So the question was, unemployed people are people without jobs. Not necessarily. You are considered to be, quote, unemployed if you do not have a job and have looked for a job within the last 4 weeks. All right? So to be considered part of the labor force, you must be working or looking for a job. All right? There are some people, we call them discouraged workers, who just kind of stopped looking because they've been discouraged for so long. Okay? So, and then 6.7% of Americans that are unemployed, that doesn't include people who are actually unemployed but have been so for more than 4 weeks. All right, question 3. The civilian labor force is the number of people aged 16 years and older who are not in the armed forces or institutionalized, which means like incarcerated or in prison. That's false. To be part of the labor force, all right, you must be a civilian, not institutionalized, 16 years or older, have a job, or be looking for a job. So this would, a lot of people not included in this factor would be students, people in high school or people in college. All right. Now, if I'm going too fast for you, this is YouTube. You can stop it whenever you want. Now, what are the causes of unemployment? Well, there's a few here we should talk about. One of them is just people being between jobs. Okay. Sometimes you're at a job, you don't like it, you're being mistreated, you're underpaid, so you want to leave it. So you're in between jobs for a little bit. You want to go somewhere else, perhaps. Sometimes a company or an industry shuts down. In bad economic times especially. GM plants closed down in Janesville a couple of years ago, and there'll be more closing down soon probably. And people who work there, they lose their job. All right? It's possible that workers' skills don't match what's needed to be, all right? Especially now, older folks have a harder time keeping up with these technological advances. All right? You might get laid off for newer people, younger people. And then there also are economic downturns. You know, sometimes economies are bad, people close up shop. All right? Now, here's what we're going to do. At this point, I want you to pause the video, stop watching it. I want you to go work by yourself, groups of 1, 2, or 3. Get a textbook in the back of the room, or go online. All right? Read chapter 13, section 1, which I believe is pages 435 through 441. Then a sheet of paper, okay, or a Google Doc, answer questions 2 through 10 for section 13, chapter 1. You will be handing this in. So you can do it by yourself, with a partner, or one other person. Okay? Read 13, section 1, answer 2 through 10. Questions? Good. Get to work. Please do come back when you're done, though, with that section. There's more for you to do. Now, hopefully that section you came across the 4 types of unemployment. That's the most important thing to get. First type, frictional. To sum it up, I would call this between jobs. Okay? Maybe you leave a job. Maybe you're moving somewhere. Maybe you want a better job. Maybe you're recently laid off, but you're looking for a new job and you're pretty confident about it. Maybe you're just out of school, like some of you will be in 4 years, and you're moving back with your parents while you look for a job. Okay? So sometimes these things, I mean, this is not a bad type of unemployment. Okay, this is considered quote-unquote normal. It's nothing to be super concerned about typically, and economists don't worry about it a lot. Secondly, we have the structural unemployment. Now, you know, cultures change, the structures of economies change, the skills that we have need to change. If I could sum up this one simply, I'd say this is the underqualified, or you're unqualified for your job. Okay? Maybe you lack a degree of some sort. Maybe you lack a type of skill set or something that's needed. So you may lose your job as a result. Now, you can usually get a job with your current skill set, or improve your skill set, maybe get a degree, which allows you to enter back into the workforce. Again, this is a somewhat, quote-unquote, normal type of unemployment, and not one that economists will often freak out about. Thirdly, seasonal unemployment. Okay, some jobs are dependent upon the year. Those who work in tourism work a lot more in summer, a lot less in winter. Those who work sometimes in agriculture, if they move around and they're doing harvesting work, will work a lot in the fall, not so much in the summer, not so much in the winter. Okay, here's some more examples here. But again, seasonal unemployment is a normal type of unemployment. All right, it's not one that economists typically worry a ton about. The one that they do get concerned about is this last one here, cyclical unemployment. All right, and this is a sign of a bad economy if this type of unemployment goes up. This is just people losing their job because firms, companies, corporations, and whatnot are closing down because of bad economic times. It's got nothing to do with the worker's skill set, nothing to do necessarily with, their personal dignity and whatnot. It's just sometimes economies are bad, people lose their jobs. So you want to keep cyclical unemployment as low as you possibly can. The first three types are considered to be somewhat normal. All right, people move between jobs, people get laid off if they're unqualified, and also there's a seasonal variety as well. But this kind of unemployment is the one that economists tend to really focus on. Now, hopefully, if you got an understanding of the four types, here's what I want to do. All right, the second part here. Give me 3 specific examples of each type of unemployment. Make something up. Make up an example. Give the person a name. All right, have fun with it. I want you to add this to questions 2 through 10 from the write-up before. When this is done, please hand it in to Mr. Batterman. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. If you get your blog comment done, hope this makes sense. And maybe I'll make one of these little video things too with the inflation part that you guys missed from last time. So we'll spend more time on unemployment in the future. Hope you have a great weekend, and go Badgers.